Hey YouTubers, it's Dan. Got the parts in today, so I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the car. I got the driver's side idler pulley right here. Decided to do the passenger side as well, right there. Porsche water pump, brand new in the box. Brand new gasket. And while I had everything apart, seemed silly not to replace the serpentine belt. And I also decided to replace a coolant hose because part of it is plastic, and a lot of times, you know, once plastic gets to be about 10 years old plus, it just they crack and get brittle. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to replace the intake manifold too, this plastic intake manifold. I don't know if any of you guys follow the Porsche forums, but these are very common for cracking right in here. So if you got a turbo and you're losing boost, more than likely this might be one of the first things you want to check. Is I believe the Porsche calls it a distributor. I believe that's what it is, what it said on the parts box or online when I was ordering everything. But anyways, if you've got a boost leak, I would definitely look here. This, you know, it's made out of plastic. Like I said, they split at the seams. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting these parts on. Okay, I'm out here in the garage. The first thing I'm gonna put on is I'm gonna do my idler pulleys. Since now everything's really torn down well, I should have enough room to get over onto the passenger side and get my hands in there and get that pulley installed. And then after that's installed, I'm gonna move over to the driver's side and do the driver's side idler pulley. Driver side idler pulley is installed. Part number is 948-102-11902. And this is for a Cayenne turbo. Mine's a 2005 model year. But very easy to install. You can see you got plenty of room. Just take your T50 socket, snug it up good and tight, and then snap the cover plate on. Here's the passenger side idler pulley. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this one. It is part number 948-102-12002. Now the driver side and the passenger side, they do share different part numbers. So be careful that you do install the correct pulley onto the correct side. So I should have plenty of room. I'm thinking now that everything's kind of out of the way, I'll be able to snake this pulley in through where that cavity is where the water pump was at, and then be able to move it around the oil dipstick, and then I'll be able to slide it into that to the mounting hole down below. Sorry, I just got off work, worked a 9-hour day, so a little tired, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot, see if I can get it in there. But I'm not expecting anything out of the ordinary in order to get that installed. Because when I removed it, I remember it being fairly easy once the water pump was out of the way. This will be my setup for getting the passenger side idler pulley on. I need to get enough length to get my hand far enough away from the pulley to an area where I have room to have my hand on there and I can actually wrench on it that way. I can't get up close because the radiator fans and the radiator, they just don't give me enough room to get my hands in there. And I remember when I was undoing the idler pulley on the passenger side, this long ratchet came in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tightened up. Okay, both idler pulleys are installed. It was a little difficult down in there to get that cap on that cover plate on that one. I really don't know the best way to describe it because everyone's hand size is different. So just be patient, try a different couple of different positions and see which one works out best. For me, I tried going between the oil dipstick and the engine block. That did not work for me. My hands were just too big. So I went straight down this area and was able to get it installed. But I wanted to show you, well, I've got these new idler pulleys on. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this or not, but these things, and I don't know if the light's going to cooperate, but these things are super quiet. I don't know if you remember me playing the old ones, how loud they were, but these you can't even hear. Don't hear anything. That's how a good idler pulley should sound. Whereas my old one, getting noisy, or very noisy. Okay, the next step that made sense to me was to get the serpentine belt installed. Now that everything's kind of out of the way and we have a lot of room to work, I didn't want to install the water pump first because I knew I might need to get my hands in there to route this belt around. There really isn't a lot of room. So the best advice I can give you is just be patient. And I started on the driver's side, worked everything around on those pulleys, and then went over to the far passenger side to the pulley that's at the very bottom, worked it around there, and then that's where you see this slack at right here. So that should give us enough room to get our water pump in, and then once we got our pulley on, I'm hoping once we release tension on the belt, that belt will slide right over the water pump pulley and we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get the parts for the water pump and get that going. Okay, the next step is to install the water pump. I have the old one and the new one side by side. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see what I'm trying to point out here. But the pulley on this one, you can tell it takes a lot of force to turn it. It's very kind of seized up. The bearing's just completely shot in it. Whereas on this one, a lot smoother. And I noticed Porsche updated the part, so this is a newer revision. So they must have made some changes to the water pump. I don't know what it could be, but this one is a .104 revision, whereas this water pump was a 102. And usually in Porsche part number terminology, when the last 3 digits have gone up, say from like 102 to 104 or 02 to 04, usually that's indicative of some type of manufacturer upgrade or a change that has been made. Before you install the water pump, first thing you want to do is make sure your mating surface is all clean and flat. You don't feel any bumps or anything on there, because if there's any type of bumps or dirt or grit, the water pump won't get a good seal and you might get a leak. So I've already done that. I've checked all my mating surfaces. They're nice and clean. So the next step is to get the gasket lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and get the gasket lined up. Okay, I got the water pump gasket on and then the water pump. So the next step is to go around and get the bolts installed. And they use an E10 socket. So I'm going to go ahead and get them going. Okay, I got the water pump bolts all tightened down and snugged. These are the tools I used. I was able to get in there just fine with this shorty. And then with this one, for some of the bottom ones, I was able to like slide this and get it from here like so. So keep in mind, make sure you do not forget to install the bracket right here that supports the wiring harness. It actually bolts to the, there's a harness here, or a support bracket that bolts to the top two water pump bolts, and you definitely don't want to forget that. But other than that, I think the next step is to go ahead and get the water pump pulley installed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, the next step is to get the water pump pulley lined up and installed. I just have it sitting there. I haven't lined it up or anything yet. So make sure you get the bolt holes lined up, and then go ahead and get a couple of them started. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. After you get the water pump pulley bolts started, next you want to move the belt on over. So you'll want to release tension on the tensioner arm right here. I believe it's a 30 millimeters what you'll need, and turn that clockwise and it will loosen tension. And if you had the belt resting below the water pump like I did, all you do is just pull it up over the top and rest it up on the pulley. And once it's rested on top of the pulley, now's a good time to tighten up the water pump pulley bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You'll need a T30. This is the setup I'm going to use. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to tighten these while holding the camera. But that's all you do. So I'm going to go ahead and get these tightened up. After you get the water pump pulley bolts all tightened up, you definitely want to double check your belt routing. Make sure all the belts are on the pulleys like they should be. So just go through and double check everything. If you were like me and removed the throttle body to gain access to the water pump bolts, now's a good time to install it. Make sure it's nice and clean. You don't want anything to get sucked in to the engine because you didn't prep it properly or cleaned it. So these are the 4 bolts that you're going to need. And also, if you haven't already done so, now's a good time to order a new green seal. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed. Once you got the throttle body installed and the bolts kind of started, now's a good time to tighten them with your T30 socket. I like to go in a star pattern to try and equalize the pressure as you tighten it. So I'm going to go ahead and get these snugged up. After you get the throttle body bolts all snugged up, now it's time to get these vacuum lines and all these electrical connectors taken care of. So I'm going to start down here by connecting these vacuum lines that we disconnected before in order to get the belt on. And then I'm going to wrap them all up where they need to be. There's some areas where they get attached to, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done now. In your vacuum lines, So I'm going to go ahead and get these buttoned up. I can't do it one-handed. Okay, I got the vacuum lines routed as best as I could for right now. Got the bottom ones all buttoned up. Everything's attached. I didn't want to go too far into it because we haven't done this coolant hose right here. And I want to be sure that I have enough room that I can move some of this stuff out of the way if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and get the coolant hose installed now. Okay, I got the coolant hose started. What I went ahead and did is I put some water, distilled water on the inside of this hose right here, so that way it'd slide onto this metal coolant pipe easy. And then I went ahead and just lined it up. I'm not going to permanently fasten it there, but I just wanted to test to make sure I don't have any kinks in the line when it's like this. If I do, you'll want to rotate this either clockwise or counterclockwise to work out any type of kinks that you get in this hose. So I'm going to go ahead and get the clamp on now because I don't have any kinks in mine. So it's good to go as is. And in order to get the clamp on it, I'm just going to use these channel locks. Okay, now that you got the coolant hose clamp on, now's a good time to finish up getting all the vacuum lines and hose connectors connected. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Next thing we want to do is install the charge pipe. You'll need a 1027 Torx, a 5mm Allen, and then don't forget to install your new charge pipe seal if you ordered a new one. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going now. This fucking goddamn thing.
Is something blocking you?
Yeah. Sorry guys, I forgot to take some video of getting the charge pipe installed and tightened up, the air box installed, and the coolant hose here. What I did is, when I installed the coolant hose, is I topped it off with coolant right here on this end. So I went ahead and stuck a funnel in there, filled it up once it started kind of oozing out a little bit. That'll help bleed it a little quicker. And then once I saw it oozing out a little bit, I just put it on the radiator and clamped it down. So the next thing we're going to do is get the intake Y pipe installed. So I'm going to go get the new part and get it installed. Okay, I'm ready to install the new intake distributor. It's a brand new part I bought from Porsche. These are known for cracking, so I decided to go ahead and just change it out now. It wasn't that much. I think it was like $60 or so. So there were some things I had to do. I had to swap over my mass airflow sensor. And then also there's this vacuum hose holder that just clips in. And what that does is hold in this bottom hose down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on. Okay, got the intake distributor or Y pipe on. I did not put in any of the hold down clips because I'm going to need to move this as I get these rubber hoses on. So until I get these rubber hoses on, that's when I'll put on those plastic hold down clips for this Y pipe manifold. So I'm going to go ahead and get these rubber hoses installed. After you get the charge pipe clamps all tightened up, now's the time to get the intake distributor buttoned up with these plastic clips that slide down in there and keep it sealed to the throttle body. The next step is to start filling the car with coolant, and Porsche recommends that we use a phosphate-free OAT coolant, and OAT stands for Organic Acid Technology, and that is exactly what Dexcool is. I have Prestone Dexcool in front of me, but there are other brands. I know Haviland makes a Dexcool compliant OAT coolant, and I believe Chevron does as well. This just seemed to be the most readily available in my area. I went ahead and bought the kind that is not pre-mixed 50-50. You seem to get a little bit more bang for your buck if you mix it yourself. So if you do intend to mix it yourself, make sure you also buy a gallon of distilled water. You don't want to mix this stuff with tap water because they contain minerals that could be corrosive to the cooling system. So I'm going to go ahead and get my car filled up with coolant. I've already pre-mixed my coolant, and I'm going to go ahead and fill this up to the max line. Next, you want to start the car and turn your heat temperature up to high. And you want to let the car idle for a good 10-15 minutes to let everything bleed. And while the car is idling, you want to keep track on the coolant reservoir to make sure it doesn't go low, because as the system starts to burp all the air out, it'll allow more room for more coolant to be fed into the cooling system. So it will pull that additional coolant it needs from the reservoir tank. So you want to make sure you keep that topped up. As you can see, as the coolant is bleeding, it is actually just below the max line now, so it's already taken a little bit of coolant. So I'm going to go ahead and top it off just a little bit more, but I'm going to go ahead and leave the car running for a good 10 to 15 minutes with the cap off, so that way any air that's in the system can bleed out. Okay, the car's been idling for about 10 minutes now. We're at operating temperature, and we've got nice warm heat coming out of the vents, which is a very good sign. I'm going to go ahead and pop the coolant reservoir cap back on the vehicle and take it for a quick 5-minute drive. Okay, the coolant level is holding steady, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the reservoir cap back on the car, and I'm going to take the vehicle for a short 5-minute drive around the block. I got back from my short 5-10 minute drive around the block. Car's running great, temperature's holding steady, nice warm heat out of the vents. The car's now been sitting for about 40 minutes because the cooling system is pressurized, so you want to let the car sit before you take off the coolant reservoir cap. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off now and see where the level's at. I don't know if you can see that, it's pretty dark right here, but the coolant level is right at the max line. Looks like we're spot on. Didn't burp any additional coolant, so it looks like it's a job well done here.